Hi, it's Andy here from East of England Paddlesports. As we're getting into the better weather, we've seen a lot of questions pop up on the group about the right sort of buoyancy aid or life jacket to get and to keep you safe. So we thought we'd do a little guide for you about all the different types of PFD or personal flotation device. Through this video you'll see an explanation of the difference between a life jacket and a buoyancy aid. We'll also talk about what we think are the two most important factors of choosing one. First is the risk you're trying to mitigate. So can you swim? Are you worried about being unconscious in the water? Or do you just want a little bit of extra buoyancy to make sure you're safe? British Canoeing have advised that everybody, including people on a SUP, wear a secondary type of buoyancy. So it's really important. The second most important thing is the fit. It's got to be snug. When you're in the water, you don't want it riding up around your ears so that you can't move. And it's got to be appropriate for the craft you're in. A kayak buoyancy aid is very different to one suitable for a paddleboard. So we're going to look at different types of life jacket, different types of buoyancy aid, ones that you put on like a vest and ones that you wear as a belt. So we're going to go down onto the beach. I'm going to be joined by Jess, one of our other admins, and we're going to talk you through those sort of different types of PFD. Hi, it's Andy and Jess. We weren't going to do this on the beach, but it's blowing a gale out there today, so we've come into Jess's sailing club to carry on talking about buoyancy aids and life jackets. So the first one we're going to talk about is life jackets. So these are designed to keep your face up out of the water and keep you floating the right way up. So if you're unconscious, it keeps you safe. So this is the first type we're going to look at.
So this is a sailing one. It has a gas canister in there, so when you fall into the water, it automatically deploys and it'll just go all the way around your neck and down the front, and it keeps your head up out of the water.
So you can pull a toggle on those, and all of these with a gas canister, you do have to rearm after you've used them. So you need to have a spare gas canister, and once it's out and blown up, it's out and blown up. So you can't put it away again after you've used it and do it again on the same trip. This is a child's life jacket. So this is one of Jess's. Again, big collar to go around the back to keep the child's head facing upright. Zip up the front, a little tie lace there and a strap, and most importantly they have a crutch strap to go up and under the legs to stop them riding up. Really important for kids particularly. So they're life jackets. We're going to talk now about some more buoyancy aids. So this is the next style we're going to talk about. These are more traditional buoyancy aids. So they won't keep your head face out of the water, so if you are unconscious, can't guarantee that it's going to stop you laying face forward. Two types here. So Jesse's got one like this. They both zip up down the side. Mine's got a buckle on the side. Jesse's has got Velcro. The important thing is you notice they're flat on the front. So I mean, how does yours feel when you're climbing back up on your?
I find it quite easy to climb back on because it's so flat. There's nothing catching. And it's quite smooth to go back on. So
you'll see some where there is a zip up the front, but it's in between the pads, so it's a little bit deeper so it won't snag. But it's really important, particularly for paddle boards, to make sure you find one without loads of pockets and buckles and zips on the front. So these two are ideal. Again, you need to make sure they're nice and tight under the ribs so that when you fall in, if I loosen mine off, it will go right up like that. So you need to make sure it's pulled down and nice and snug under your ribs and pull it tight. So it's got to be a good fit.
A good way to test it is to get someone else to pull you up to see if it goes over your head. So you just don't want to fall in or have too big of a buoyancy aid and you go completely into the water, because then there's no point in having one.
So that's another type of buoyancy aid. We'll talk next about more kayak specific buoyancy aids and show you the difference of those as well. So this is the next style we're going to talk about. In fact, Jess was only asking me about this the other day because it looks so different. This is a typical kayak Buoyancy Aid. As you'll see, it's very high up, because when you're sat in a kayak with your spray deck on, obviously you don't want it very low because you're sat inside the kayak. So the front has got lots of pockets and things to hang things off, because obviously when you're kayaking, this is where you've got things. You're sealed into a kayak, particularly a sit-in kayak. But the one thing you'll notice, the back pad is really, really high. And that's so that if you're in a kayak and you're doing an Eskimo roll to recover from a capsize, you need to lay right back. And having the pad up high means that you can lay right back without anything getting in the way. This is quite bulky on the front. So again, like we talked about the last ones, where they're quite smooth and flat, this would get in the way when you're trying to get back onto a paddleboard. So what I said right at the beginning of the video is about the risk you're trying to mitigate in the craft you're in. Get the right type of buoyancy aid for the craft you're paddling, because trying to climb back onto a paddleboard with one of these just makes life harder. You've got lots of things to snag, there's gaps around the side, it just makes it a little bit difficult. So this is a kayak one, and now we're going to talk about one that's very popular on paddleboards, which are the belt type.
So this is the next really popular one. As you can see, it's kind of like a bum bag. A lot of people like to wear them because then you can just wear normal clothes and it's not restrictive like a buoyancy aid. But it does come with a canister as well, so you do have to deploy it, and it goes all the way around. Again, once you deploy it, you do need to get a new canister, and you do need to test these out, because some people get them and don't ever test them out, and then they don't work. The other thing with these, I noticed, so every time I do get a new buoyancy aid or a new flotation device, I do like to practice getting on and off my board again, because it does feel different. But I had a quick release belt with this on, and because with the two buckles, I then couldn't get on the board as easily because this bit kept catching underneath the board. So it's something just to consider if you're going to change what you wear, just to practice getting on and off the board, especially when it's cold out.
The important thing to notice about these belt type ones, there's quite a few different types. As Jess said, this one you wear at the back, and when you pull the toggle, which you have to pull, it doesn't inflate automatically, you have to pull the toggle. And you wear that one at the back, so that the actual inflated tube comes round your waist like this. There are some that you wear on the front that you have to unpack and pop over your head and then pull the toggle, and then you've got a big airbag on your tummy. So think about how you're going to get back on a board with that. Another type is when you pull the toggle, it just comes out as a long inflated tube on a little strap, which again is okay, and it's ideal actually if you're with someone and they can hold on to it while you're climbing on the board. But if you were trying to hold on to it and climb on the board at the same time, it's not going to work. The other thing to think about, as Jess said, with a quick release belt, you've now got two belts on, and you need to make sure that they can both operate independently. So if this one is covering up your quick release and you need to release quickly and it snags because you're wearing this, you need to make sure that isn't going to happen. And the same is if your quick release belt is covering that up and you try and deploy it, you need to make sure it inflates properly and you're safe. A way to get around that, I've adapted my leash so that I clip that on my waist belt and pull that toggle and the whole leash falls away. So I don't wear two belts, I just wear one with this type of leash on my buoyancy aid belt. So I hope that was useful. We've shown you a few options there. As always, when you're on the water, make sure you're using the right one for the right situation. You may need to buy two. I have a kayak one and a paddleboard one because I paddle both. But most of all, as we always say, be kind, be careful, stay safe. See you in the water. See you soon.